At 6:12 a.m., I read my own obituary in the Santa Cruz Sentinel. Eleanor Brennan, 69, beloved school program coordinator, passed away Tuesday at her home on Cliff Drive. My coffee slipped from my hand. The brown splash on the counter looked like a heartbeat, one that had just stopped. I wasn't dead. Not yet, anyway. The date listed was tomorrow. I called the newspaper. The editor sounded calm until I gave him my name. "Ma'am, are you sure this isn't a family prank? Obituaries are submitted by relatives or funeral homes." I told him I was sure. 10 minutes later, he called back, uneasy. The payment came from a card registered to a Michael Brennan. My son. The one who hadn't spoken to me in 6 months after I refused to sell my house by the ocean. The house where he'd grown up chasing gulls and sea foam. No, it couldn't be him. I folded the paper, slipped it into my jacket, and opened my laptop. The article asked readers to donate in her memory to the Pebble 12 Foundation. I knew that name. A year ago, a scam group had used it to steal from lonely retirees by posting fake memorial pages. I'd helped the local police uncover part of it back then. That was when the first anonymous message appeared on my phone. "You're too curious, Ellie. Stay out of Pebble 12. I hadn't listened. Now Pebble 12 was back, this time printed above my photo. When I checked the site, the address line read, Pebble 12 Foundation, Chapter CA 79. CA 79. The number jolted me. 1979. The year I interned in San Francisco. The year I met Dave, my late husband. And the year we dreamed of a project called Pebble 12, a volunteer network to protect seniors from fraud before it ever reached their doors. We never finished it. He got sick. Life happened. And now someone had resurrected that ghost. At the post office that morning, a plain envelope waited in my box. Inside was a safe deposit box key and a note. "Your last day is tomorrow at noon. If you arrive earlier, the story changes. Start at the place where you stopped rushing." Only one place fit that description. The coffee shop by the pier, Fog and Bean, where every barista knew my as usual. I arrived at 8:40. The fog was thinning, revealing the blue beneath. A man in a green Cal fire cap ordered 2 black coffees. He set an envelope on the counter, looked straight at me, and walked out. The barista handed it over. Inside, a claim slip for a safety deposit box at Pacific West Credit Union. Appointment time 11 Walker a.m. And a photo, me and Michael, back when he was 5. On the back, in childish print, "Mom, don't sell the sea." My throat tightened. I had never shown anyone that picture. At 11 o'clock sharp, I turned the key in box 213. Inside, an old tape recorder, a folded map marked Moss Landing, Pigeon Point, Battery Spencer, and a note. "Play this where the wind plays." By noon, I was standing at Battery Spencer, the lookout above the Golden Gate Bridge where the wind never stops testing your balance. Dave and I used to come here in our 30s just to prove to ourselves that fog could be beautiful. I opened the envelope. Out fell a 1979 parking token from the Presidio and an old movie stub, Castro Theater, July 1979. The night we promised to always come back to the ocean, no matter what. Another message waited on the folded map. "You moved the coast when you refused to sell the sea. Now move time. Moss Landing, where you were betrayed. Pigeon Point, where you forgave. Spencer, where you listen." At that exact moment, my phone buzzed. An unknown number sharing coordinates. A single text. Right of the fence. Under the stone? Under the stone lay a GPS beacon and another line. "If you take it, they come fast. If you leave it, they come slow. Choose your pace." I left it. As I walked down to the parking lot, the Cal Fire pickup rolled in. Same green cap behind the wheel. The man stepped out, calm as a Sunday. "Ellie Brennan?" "Yes." "I'm Owen, retired pilot. You're being watched. I figured you'd rather have company that can see above ground level." He said it like a fact, not a favor. At Moss Landing, we found the remnants of someone else's operation. A shed filled with printed donation lists, call logs, and a projector flashing a single slide, P12, Cartography of Attacks, on the table. An envelope labeled, "Ellie, you're number 7. Tonight, 7 p.m. Sutro Baths. Bring only what you can carry. Alone, no time. Together, yes, height. Trap, Owen said. Chance, I answered. He didn't argue, he just started the engine. By sunset, the ruins of Sutro Baths glowed orange against the Pacific. The tide hummed a low song, the kind you feel more than hear. A woman stood on the edge. Gray coat, silver hair, posture of someone who's kept secrets longer than she should. Liana? I asked. She nodded. You remember 1979? She said quietly. Pigeon Point. Red bicycle. The fog. We said then, little stones move the coast. Behind her, a man filmed us with a phone. Give me the key, ladies, he said. And maybe we stop writing your obituaries. I stepped forward. You already made a mistake, I said. Oh, yeah? You published tomorrow's date. He blinked. I'm not dead today. That means I've got a night left. 3 tiny green lights blinked from the cliff. Morse code. Owen. From the lower rocks, more lights answered. Our old Pebble 12 members. Those who had survived the years and found each other again. The man's phone shook in his hand. You're bluffing. Liana smiled faintly. We're retired. We have time. He turned off the recording. By the time police arrived, he had told them everything. How they used stolen identities to post fake memorials, how they targeted the elderly with predated obituaries to scare families into paying for legal help. When it was over, the ocean sounded different. Not angry, awake. Owen walked me to my car. Your night's going to be long, he said. Long's fine, I replied. Long means I'm still here. Morning light rolled in through the salt-streaked windows of my old house, painting golden lines across the kitchen floor. The paper still lay open where I'd left it, the one that had declared me dead. But this morning I smiled at it. I made myself coffee, black and strong, and poured a second cup without even thinking. Dave's cup. Old habits don't die, they just wait until you're ready to use them again. By noon, Liana arrived. She wasn't the same woman I remembered from 1979. Her hair had silvered like mine, but her energy was steady, youthful. She carried a folder thick with handwritten notes, some yellowed by time, some new and full of hope. We could restart Pebble 12, she said, laying the folder on the table. The real one, the one we dreamed about. I hesitated. People don't want to hear from retirees trying to save the world. Then we'll make them listen, she said. Her confidence lit something inside me. That afternoon we met with Owen at the town council office. He still wore that same green Cal Fire cap, tilted just enough to make him look like he was pretending not to care. He cared, though. I could tell by the way he spoke to the officials, firm but calm. By the end of the week, the city had granted us access to an old community center near Pigeon Point, a building no one had used in years. The roof leaked, the paint peeled, and raccoons had claimed one corner as their new apartment. But it was ours. We scrubbed, painted, patched. We hung string lights across the ceiling and taped old photos to the walls. Dave and me in our 30s, Liana in her college days, Owen in his flight suit, smiling like the sky belonged to him. Word spread faster than we expected. First came a retired firefighter, then a nurse, a widower who hadn't spoken to anyone in months, a former math teacher who brought cookies shaped like stars for alignment. They told stories, not of battles or losses, but of quiet victories. One woman had started teaching English to refugees online. Another man had learned to code at 72 and built an app that tracked neighborhood trees. By the second month, Pebble 12 had become something real. Not a dream, not a memory, but a heartbeat shared between strangers. Sometimes, when everyone had gone home, Owen would stay behind to help stack chairs. We'd talk about flight, about loss, about second chances. One night, while we stood outside watching the fog roll in, he said, "You ever think we get to live 2 lives? One before we know what matters and one after?" "Maybe," I said. "The first is loud. The second has better music." He smiled, and for a moment I saw what Dave used to call the quiet in the storm. A few weeks later, we hosted Pebble 12's first public gathering. an open event called the Coastline of Tomorrow. We expected 20 people. 100 showed up. There were families, veterans, single mothers, even a few local high school kids volunteering just because Grandma said it was cool. Someone had brought a small band, guitars, tambourine, harmonica. The music drifted over the ocean like something that had been waiting to be sung. As the crowd settled, I saw a familiar face in the back. Michael, my son. He looked older than I remembered, but softer too. His eyes were searching the room until they found me. I walked over, my hands shaking more than they should have. He didn't say a word at first, just pulled out a folded newspaper. The same issue that had printed my fake obituary. I kept it, he said quietly. As proof that I almost lost you twice. I took a breath. I'm here now, he nodded. Then let me help. You don't have to do this alone. That moment, more than the speeches, more than the music, which was what shifted the coast again. After the event, the sun dipped low, coloring the waves in copper and gold. People lingered, not wanting to leave. Owen stood beside me, arms crossed, eyes on the horizon. You did it, he said. No, I corrected. We did. He turned, that quiet smile again. You know, pilots have a saying. You never really land, you just stop flying for a while. I laughed softly. Then I guess Pebble 12 is our new flight. We stood in silence, listening to the ocean's slow applause. Later that night, after everyone had gone, I sat alone at the pier with a notebook in my lap. The wind carried faint traces of music from the city, laughter, car horns, life. I wrote one last line before closing it. You can't stop the tide, but you can learn its rhythm. And maybe that's what Pebble 12 was all along. Not resistance, not rebellion, but rhythm. A reminder that no matter how far the waves pull you back, the next one always brings you closer to shore. When I finally stood to leave, the tide brushed my shoes like an old friend saying, "See you tomorrow."